went from building the content creating culture that exists now in Miami, like been in from day one, and then now you're making this change in the second half of your career where you're covering historic locations, more like a Miami historian.
Yeah, I mean, I've always liked old Miami shit. You know what I mean? So that's why me and Abel, shout out Abel from Miami Stadium, like we clicked. But I've always just like, being here like Hialeah Speedway, the highlight stuff I was always big on, Pink Pussycat, like just like those iconic places that like are very us. As you start slowly seeing them disappear, like even my office during right before COVID, I had to get rid of it because of COVID because I didn't know where we were going. I had a 7,000 square foot warehouse, was right off of 27th and 35th, literally 2 minutes from Pink Pussycat, and I had seen that Pink Pussycat, the building itself came up for sale, and I was like, how dope would it be to like buy it, turn the inside into my photo studio, but leave the outside as is like a historical preservation.
Wow.
Because we all drove by that shit as kids. There's even the meme like, oh, mommy, what's that?
Of course.
You know what I mean? And now, like, supposedly they took the neons off and their neons are saved. Like, they didn't destroy the neons. Supposedly they have all the original neons.
Wow.
But they cool. Obviously they just painted the building. They painted it black or whatever it is now. But I've always just like cool. And mind you, that I got really into it once I started traveling and I started realizing like, we don't have an Eiffel Tower, we don't have we don't have an Empire State Building, but we do have like our Bank of America building. That's like important to us. The Freedom Tower is important to us.
Facts.
The highlight, even Pink Pussycat, because that's something that to us is like iconic.
100%.
Forget about the debauchery that went in that building, but the building itself is still something. The fountain for us, like I remember when there was nothing there on the corner of on East 4th and Okeechobee, and like that's something that now like my kid that's it's been there his entire life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where like I just started collecting stuff and like I would even like funny enough, one of my craziest jackets was given to me by David Grubman. I was at his house one day. He's like, "You like old Miami shit, right?" And he just literally reached in the closet, just threw me a jacket, and he's like, "Here you go." And that was like a $300 jacket back then. And I'm like, "All right, bet." I wore it to live one night that Luke and Two Life Crew were there, and I couldn't enjoy the night because everybody's like, "Yo, that jacket is hard. That jacket is hard," and just like I like that feeling. And I was like, I was the only one in the building wearing it, so I was like, "All right, cool." Like, I never got into expensive. I've never owned Louis Vuitton, Gucci, none of that stuff. I never got into like the big name brand shit like that. And I just got into that stuff, and I was like, I'd rather wear rare shit versus expensive shit. And funny enough, because my slogan used to be, I am expensive, but then I realized that the rare shit can also be expensive. But like, I got into rare shit, and I was just started looking for rare Miami shit that we would take for granted. Like right now, if I pulled out a shirt of Dandy Bear, people would freak out because like, oh shit, Dandy Bear.
Wow.
But 90% of people turn that shit into a mop 10, 15 years ago because who cares? It's fucking Dandy Bear.
Yeah, you don't see the.
But now it's like I have like Hialeah Speedway stuff that people are like, holy shit,
That's sick.
So I got into that, and then it became a habit, and it became now I started as lottery vintage because it's one of those things that every time I found a piece, it felt like I won the lottery because that was like my whole. And then I stopped selling because I just didn't enjoy the process of selling, and I just focused on building my archive. And essentially, like how you guys have all these records here. Like, it's just an archive. Like, it's important to me, it's special to me. So I just literally rebranded to Vice City Archive because I also do a lot of, like, the 80s drug dealer stuff.
Yeah.
So a lot of 80s car stuff, a lot of 80s speedboat stuff. I have a ton of offshore racing stuff. So it's not just specifically Miami, but it's majority Miami and then that whole Miami Vice era. And just a lot of people don't know, but that whole Vice era thing had roots in Michigan, had roots in California, has roots in New York, where like offshore racing was huge, and where there's offshore boats, there's offshore money, there's offshore cars. So all that old 80s drug dealer shit, I'm a big fan of. Funny enough, and I've been sober my whole life, but just that lifestyle.
That's maybe part of the intrigue. You're outside looking in, you're interested in it.
You know what I mean?